Good morning, everybody. Mike's MMA Picks here with your Fight Morning Quick Card Breakdown show brought to you by BetDSI as well as MMAOddsbreaker. We are here for UFC 282, the final pay-per-view event in 2022. 12 fights, 10 of which are lined to end inside the distance, favored to end inside the distance. We've got action-packed card. Light heavyweight strap on the line. Magomed Ankalaev taking on Jan Blachowicz. And let's get things kicked off this morning, bright and early. Fights kick off at 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern. First fight of the night, where we have Cameron Simon taking on Stephen Kozlov. Simon coming in as a minus 330 betting favorite. Kozlov on the other side of this fight, plus 255. Kozlov took this fight on short notice, was supposed to step in to face Mario Bautista a few fights ago. Would have been interesting to see how quickly Bautista would have been able to finish Kozlov. In this spot, Simon, South African fighter, somebody who is he shines in the striking department. We'll say that. Not the biggest bantamweight. Kozlov looks larger during the face-offs, made the weight. Kozlov is typically a first round or bust fighter. We haven't seen him take a loss, but look up and down his record. He has fought fighters who, let's just say he hasn't faced stellar competition. Simon here should come out, look to stay evasive, look to shine on the feet. I advise him to avoid the ground at all costs here. Kozlov's shot at locking up a submission is his best path to victory here. I've been tempted to play the under 2.5. I saw it at around minus 190-ish. I don't see this fight going the distance. Fight doesn't go the distance. Line was sitting around minus 250. I think that's a little too wide, but I'm going to be picking Simon in this spot, and I predict that he wins this fight inside the distance. Inside the distance line was hovering around minus 130-ish. Give me Simon to win, and to win so inside the distance. Next up, where we have Eric Silva, 35-year-old Venezuelan fighter. Don't get him mixed up with the other Eric Silva, who we've seen fight against Matt Brown and others. You want to watch the John Fitch fight against the other Eric Silva if you have a few spare minutes. This Eric Silva is going to look to try to take this fight to the mat and lock up a submission. 35 years of age, taking on TJ Brown. TJ Brown is, let's face it, he's a well-rounded fighter, but he's made a lot of bonehead mistakes inside of the octagon. Has put himself in situations where you'd think most fighters would be successful, yet he's managed to circumvent that process and take losses. TJ Brown has a difficult time putting together 15 minutes of sustained effort without catastrophic errors. This is a spot where Brown, you watch the line, this line, Brown was a significant underdog. Now we're basically at evens here. TJ Brown at minus 115. If he's able to mind his P's and Q's, he could potentially come in here and should walk away with the victory against Silva, who he has some holes in his game and hasn't been tested at this level. I'll be picking TJ Brown to win. Not very impressed with Silva's, the entirety of Silva's game. I think that the cardio could come into play here, and I'm going to be picking TJ Brown to win. Now, could TJ Brown make another catastrophic error inside of the octagon? That's always a possibility. We're at the mercy of those competing inside of the octagon. Look no further than last week. You had Kevin Holland, who had the fight on the mat where he was light years ahead of Stephen Thompson, and look what he did there. Basically, had too much pride, wanted to strike it out on the feet, had no reason to do that other than basically it was pride at stake, and pride is not going to win you a UFC fight. You have to fight to your strengths, and that was a idiotic performance from Kevin Holland to do that last week. I was completely I don't want to say I was completely floored, because we've seen Kevin Holland choose to avoid his strengths in the past, and that was another case where that happened. But in this spot, TJ Brown is going to be the pick. Next up, where we have Alexander Hernandez coming in as a plus 140 underdog. Made weight, came down to featherweight here, taking on Billy Quarantillo. Quarantillo, minus 170 betting favorite. Alexander Hernandez looked great on the scales. Got to be honest with ourselves. Looked great on the scales. Is a very explosive fighter. Comes out hot, and we've seen him basically get broken throughout the course of fights before. One fight I was very impressed with, although it was a while ago, his victory over OAM. That was back in 2018 or so. That was a while ago. And Hernandez was able to put together a 15-minute dominant performance, especially in the wrestling, against OAM. Had 15 minutes of gas. Now, is he going to have 15 minutes of gas here against Quarantillo? Man, that is up for debate. I don't think he will. He should come out here on fire, though. I suspect he's going to be very explosive early, as he has been. We've seen against Drew Dober, was able to hold his own at times. Thiago Moises was able to hold his own for a few minutes. And then he has a propensity to fall off of a cliff midway through the fight. Now, I was looking at different strategies to attack this fight. Quarantillo, we've seen against Shane Burgos, against Spike Carlisle. There have been others where he can get manhandled early. And if you can't put Quarantillo away, he will come back and get you late. Quarantillo, third round, plus 1,100 is something to take a look at. Can Alexander Hernandez get Quarantillo out of there? I think he's going to most likely that will be his recipe for success, is to be able to try to finish Quarantillo. Otherwise, Billy's going to be chomping at the bit later on. He's always live in that third round. And I'll be picking Billy Quarantillo. Take a look at that plus 1,100 for the third round finish. And this is a show me spot for Alexander Hernandez. This is his last stand, I believe. If you come in and start losing fights at lightweight, then drop to featherweight, cut all that weight, and now if you come in here and take a loss, that is not a good look. Let's see what Hernandez looks like. But give me Quarantillo to win, and to win inside the distance late. Now, let's see what we got here. Moise, good morning, sir. Thank you for choosing to check in on this beautiful, sunny breakdown. We have a welterweight matchup. No, middleweight matchup up next. Now, Joaquin Buckley has come out and already said that his next fight after this will be at welterweight. We've seen him in there and get blasted out of the water against Kevin Holland. Joaquin Buckley is a fighter who is bricked up, somebody who he carries a lot of extra weight in his pecs, and it'll be interesting to see when he comes back down to welterweight, because I think he could have a successful career down there. Has a decent gas tank. We've seen against Imavov. I was on Imavov last time out there. That did get sketchy. I will say that. Buckley has he has some explosiveness and unpredictability that causes opponents issues. We saw against Impa Kasanganai and others. He is a force to be reckoned with. Now, Chris Curtis, the other side of the fight, somebody who's been around the block, a seasoned veteran who is an intelligent fighter for the most part, though he could not solve the riddle of Jack Hermansson last time out. Now, Joaquin Buckley is not Jack Hermansson. Buckley is going to put himself in harm's way. Curtis is the better boxer here. He's the more fluid boxer. He's crisp. He has decent head movement. One thing that Buckley tends to lack is that presence when he's in the pocket exchanging, can get caught. And he's had a plan B, though, lately. He's been able to go back to the wrestling, and that's been something that saved him in a number of these fights. Even against Imavov, was trying to get in there and mix in his wrestling. Now, that third round of Imavov, that was a shining beacon of hope as far as I'm concerned. That cardio in the third round can propel him to not only finishing a fight late, but also the judges, they have recency bias as well. They see that last minute of him coming forward and wanting to win that fight. That could help here, aid him. But I'll be picking Chris Curtis, and I think this line is a little off here. I was tempted to pull the trigger on Curtis. Not going to do it, though. I think this is a very closely lined fight. I'll be picking Curtis to win in this spot. And he, as a seasoned veteran, somebody who's not going to get flustered in the pocket, I believe he's going to teach Buckley a little bit of a vet lesson here, but we'll see what happens. That's why they make these fights, my friends. So give me Chris Curtis in that spot. Next up, we've got Dalcha champion Lungiambula taking on Edmund Shahbazian. I have been a fan of Edmund Shahbazian for years, and he has let me down a number of times. Shahbazian is a fighter who, against Imavov, we saw him have some success early and then broke. And we've seen him break in a number of fights here against Jack Hermansson and others. He has success early and then can fall off of a cliff. Dalcha Lungiambula, I was at his last fight against Puna Soriano, and Lungiambula in this spot is somebody who has a poor gas tank, someone who is a very, very explosive fighter, looking to land haymakers, throws winging punches, and you watch hooks that he throws. That is a threat here. Also, his kicking game is a threat. Another thing about the Buckley Curtis fight, you'll see Curtis throwing much straighter, crisp strikers. Buckley's going to be throwing those hooks. Doesn't necessarily throw straight punches often. And Edmund Shahbazian can throw right down the pipe. And I believe that Shahbazian is going to, over the course of about 10 minutes or so, possibly less, light Lungiambula up here and stun him and win this fight inside the distance. I don't see this fight going the distance. I see fight doesn't go the distance, was sitting around minus 220-ish, and that line has actually closed a little bit, which was a little bit of a shock to me. I haven't had a play on that side of the fight, but that may be a parlayable piece if you choose to go that route. Shahbazian is going to be the pick, and I believe Edmund Shahbazian, with his move to Extreme Couture, I think that is going to help him out here. We're going to see a more composed fighter, somebody who's going to pick his spots and win this fight inside the distance. Also, the Shahbazian inside the distance line was around minus 110-ish. This is somebody who traditionally will he will finish fights. So You're getting a little bit of a value there. Edmund Shahbazian to win inside the distance is the play. I believe he's going to get this done either by submission or knockout. He has a few options there. Next up, we've got Jay Perrin taking on Raul Rosas Jr. Raul Rosas Jr. minus 240 at the betting window. Somebody who is 18 years old, someone who is a grappling, let's call him a prodigy, since he's here at 18 years of age, and he has shown that he's capable of winning fights via his grappling and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That is a real threat here against Jay Perrin, who, man, if you watch the weigh-ins and the stare downs and the interviews, Jay Perrin has been talking so much smack about this kid who, Raul Rosas Jr. He's an interesting guy. I'll say that. He is not very well spoken, but he's a fighter, someone who is going to bring the fight to his opponent, and he won't go away. That's one thing about Rosas Jr. is I've noticed that he will stick to his opponents like glue, and then will capitalize over time. He's a very long fighter, and Perrin said something to the effect of that he's going to break his jaw, that you won't get me down one time. And during that heated stare down, Rosas Jr.'s responses in that regard were, "You're 0-2." So Perrin, granted, took a loss to Mario Bautista, and then was in a hard fought fight last time out, where a lot of folks on Twitter, on the timeline, it appeared, were backing Perrin there, but again, was unable to fight to his strengths, was getting eaten alive at times on the feet, and then subsequently took a loss. And Perrin is 29 years old. It's not like this. He's had an opportunity to shine, and he's failed in a spot where he had a favorable spot. I think that this is going to come back to bite him in the ass, and that Raul Rosas is going to find an opportunity here. I don't think he's going to. I don't think he's going to be landing takedowns, but I think that Perrin is going to make a mistake, and Raul Rosas is going to capitalize on that during a transition. And then that is going to be the writing on the wall. And then Rosas is going to march on to victory here. I'll be picking Raul Rosas Jr. to win this fight. Could be by decision, could be by submission. I know Perrin is he's a tough guy. I watch his regional tape. Somebody who he'll hang in the fight, but I think Rosas is just going to be a little too much for him, even at 18 years of age. And that may be a real wake-up call for him. I was watching those stare downs. I don't know why he didn't take the high road here. He's creating a lot of enemies, but I'll be picking Raul Rosas Jr. here. Next up. All right, let's see. We've got morning, Jack. Thanks for tuning in this morning. Great to see you. Daniel. Excellent. Great to see you. Let's continue this journey, my brothers, where we have a heavyweight tilt between Chris Daukus and Jair Rozenstruik. Jair Rozenstruik, a fighter who we've backed in the past, who's won us some dough, somebody who isn't the most active fighter, but when he does throw strikes, typically counter strikes, they land and they're precise and they're very powerful. I've mentioned this a number of times. I've seen him doing road work and reminds me of Leonard Fournette out there, the way he's able to move around. He's a very athletic fellow who he's a big guy too, 261 pounds, taking on Chris Daukus, who is morbidly obese, somebody who is hovering around 242-ish, and he looks like he's carrying around 30 plus pounds of additional adipose tissue, somebody who can strike, somebody who we haven't seen necessarily the ground game from, but we know that it's there. or we've heard that it's there. I haven't seen his ground game in action often, even in the regional footage. He watched his other brother, Daukus brother, get run over last time out by Eric Anders. That was, I believe, a week ago. And I believe Daukus is going to fall here against Rozenstruik, who is a very precise striker, somebody who's patient. In the larger octagon, I could see Daukus trying to pepper Rozenstruik and be cute out there in regards to moving his head and getting in and out of the pocket. And then Daukus is going to try to land a combination. And as he's entering the pocket, I see Rozenstruik landing a hellacious counter that knocks Daukus out. Now, am I willing to play Rozenstruik at minus 175? I'm not going to go out of my way to do that. I think that the better option here is to play Rozenstruik by knockout. Now, when does this happen, though? So that is the next question. It's up to Daukus's his inclination and when he decides to enter the pocket, because this may be a case where you have tentative fighters who've been finished. Both of these guys have been finished recently, and they may opt to sit back and have a kickboxing match. So that is a risk that we take in this game. We are at the mercy of the decision-making process of others, and we have to take a measured approach here. Remember, you want to make sure that your bankroll can fight another day. So you have to take a measured approach. That's one of the reasons why I believe if you operate under the guidance of a unit-based approach, 1% of your bankroll, 1 unit, you are working with 100 total units. You are avoiding any massive play where you're putting too much of your bankroll in play. This is a spot where you could potentially do that if you play Rozenstruik by KO and take a measured approach here, something 1 unit or so. But give me Rozenstruik to win via KO. Let's see. Danny, good morning. Great to see you. All right. Daukus says he isn't going to bang with Rozenstruik. Okay, yeah. So then how is he gonna win this fight? Is he gonna take? We've seen fighter who came out with a diaper come and have some success against Rozenstruik a number of years ago. Where is that fighter anyway? The heavyweight. I haven't seen him in years. Not on the UFC roster for that matter. Give me Rozenstruik to win inside the distance. Next up, wow, the people's main event. Up next, we've got Ilia Topuria taking on Bryce Mitchell. All right, so this bout, 145 pounds, featherweight. We've seen both fighters make weight. Bryce Mitchell, we know he's capable of slow cooking opponents, somebody who has a grind to him that sets himself apart here. In this fight, Topuria has the striking. He has the jiu-jitsu to compete, but does he have the gas tank? And when the going gets tough, we saw with Jai Herbert last time out, Topuria got dropped. This was up at lightweight, was able to bite down on the mouthpiece, throw hammers, and has tremendous power. Killer instinct from Topuria. Initially, I was going in on Topuria, and I am having some buyer's remorse here. And if you got in on Topuria at a phenomenal line, I advise folks to pull out here, because there are a few things that really that got me going. Topuria, we know the guy's a bit of a hothead, somebody who seems completely distracted, easily distractible, somebody who I believe is potentially facing a very live opponent here in Bryce Mitchell, somebody who, if you were able to get in on Topuria at a great line, you may have the ability to hedge out. Bryce Mitchell, I've seen at other books, plus 125, plus 128, etc. Bryce Mitchell, I believe, is a very live opponent in this spot. I'm a bit conflicted here because Topuria has been a money-making machine for me, and so has Bryce Mitchell. We were on him against Feely. We've been on him against Barboza. I believe that Topuria has the athletic advantage. He has the pure striking ability. I know he has a great ground game, and he can wrestle. But I am not happy about how he's handled himself in the press conference, at the weigh-ins, at the stare down, and also on the scales. You saw that Mitchell's the much larger fighter. I know that Topuria is going to end up putting on a lot of weight after this weigh-in, but Mitchell, I believe he is very live in this spot. And initially, I was planning on having a larger play on Topuria, but I'm off that. I believe that Bryce Mitchell could come in here and cause some real problems, especially in Las Vegas, in that heated atmosphere, in the T-Mobile Arena. Some fighters just shine under the bright lights. And if Topuria is unable to get Bryce Mitchell out of there, especially in the first round and a half, Bryce Mitchell's coming, man. He's gonna come at you and grind you. And I'm not sure if Topuria is going to be able to handle that third round. I'll be honest. If you look around, I saw Bryce Mitchell third round submission plus 2,400. That is something to take a look at. It would not surprise me one bit to see Bryce Mitchell end up breaking Topuria here. I'll be picking Bryce Mitchell, but I am. This is a stay away fight from my end at this stage. Watching everything unfold. Initially, I was planning on being on Topuria, and now I have backed off that stance. I know it may be. Some folks say hedging is for pussies. I don't necessarily believe that. I think that this is an intelligent decision considering everything that all the information we have in front of us. Let's see. We've got a few comments here. Bryce brings a level of focus to the octagon you don't often see. Now, focus doesn't necessarily win fights, but it could put you in a situation to make the right decisions. And that's the key. That's one of the keys here that Topuria has. He can get caught up in the moment. And no matter how talented you are, you could potentially make bonehead mistakes. And I am concerned about Topuria doing that or eventually gassing himself out here. Cardio, wrestling, and size. Yes, I agree. So I'll be picking Mitchell here. Interesting matchup, though. And I believe it deserves the dialogue that I'm devoting to it, because it isn't so simple as, oh yeah, Topuria is going to come in there and blast Mitchell out of the water, because that could potentially happen here, but I don't think it's a given. And Mitchell has a knack for showing up and winning fights, and I know that he's completely outmatched from a striking standpoint, but like Mitchell said, he's had his ass kicked before. He's not undefeated in his mind. He doesn't have a massive ego and a massive head here. And that is, I believe, going to be Topuria's downfall at some point. Topuria could win this fight, but we'll see. So I apologize for the long-winded explanation, but I believe that this fight really deserves that. Give me Bryce Mitchell. We've got another comment here. Bryce has decision equity, but gets hit on the Yep, we'll see. Next up, where we have a 185-pound matchup between Darren Till and Dricus du Plessis. Du Plessis coming in as a minus 180 betting favorite. Till plus 150 at the betting window. Interesting matchup here. Du Plessis has been steamrolling through his previous opponents, can get caught on the feet, tends to, and Michael Bisping touched on this in one of the matchups, that he tends to charge forward towards his opponent. And Darren Till could land a counter here. We know that Darren Till, southpaw fighter, somebody who is a counter striker. That is a possibility here. But I'll be honest, you watch Till in the lead up to this fight, it looked horrific on the scale, looked horrific in training camp, looked horrible against Brunson. His last real solid performance was against Gastelum a few years ago. And Till he's a great striker, has trouble on the mat. Du Plessis, I was impressed with his performance against Giles and others, where he pushes a pace, continues to go forward, has relied on his chin, which that gets a little scary out there. Du Plessis could have been had around plus money a few months ago. Now this line has been bet all the way to minus 180. So if you were able to get on Du Plessis at plus money or minus 110, minus 120-ish, good on you. But at this line, minus 180, I believe this is starting to widen out here to a point where there may be a little bit of value on Till. I'm not going to be picking Till to win. I think that he hasn't shown me recently over the past few years that he's capable of putting in a great performance. Now, look at Marcus here. Marcus, my man. Says Darren Till should be 1-5 in his last 5 fights if the Liverpool judges do not rob Wonderboy. Love Dricus. You got him at 125. Strong work. That's a solid line. Now, Biker Boy also says here that the defense gets ugly. That is correct. He's huffing and puffing, and he's got to push a pace against Till here and force Till to empty his tank. Because I don't think there's much in there as far as a gas tank goes for Darren Till at this stage in his career. Seems to be going off of a cliff here. Now, Darren Till, though, that left hand counter strike is always live. And can he drop Du Plessis and get him out of there? That is a possibility. So it's dependent upon Du Plessis's game plan here. I like the head on Du Plessis's shoulders. He seems to be a very intelligent fighter. When he speaks in interviews, is that going to translate inside of the octagon? So if you got in on Du Plessis at minus 110, minus 120-ish, solid play. The other thing is, does this fight go the distance? That is a very good question because Till doesn't necessarily have massive power. We know that he can land a counter strike. Does he have enough to put Du Plessis out? And Du Plessis could potentially push that hellacious pace to break Darren Till. So I've seen the under 2.5 at minus 145 at books. I've seen the fight doesn't go the distance was around minus 186. Now it's up to minus 200 or so. So tough spot there. I believe there is a little bit of value on the under 2.5 at that number of minus 145. It's just a matter of is Till going to be able to land that fight-ending blow, and also does Du Plessis have the wherewithal to keep pressing forward and break Darren Till? I'll be picking Du Plessis to win, and he could win this fight inside the distance or decision. So the money line at minus 120 or minus 110, I believe, was much better. Next up, we have Alex Morono taking on Santiago Ponzanibio. Ponzanibio coming in as a minus 170 betting favorite. This is a fighter who's now in his late 30s. Ponzanibio, who isn't the same fighter that he was. We saw against Miguel Bieza and others, Michel Pereira. There have been a few situations where he just does not look like the same guy. Granted, the volume's there, the cardio's there, and Alex Morono, I've said this before, he is one of the most unathletic fighters I've seen inside of the octagon. Off balance often, but smart. Very intelligent fighter when it comes to interviews, studying his opponents. Comes out of a solid camp, splits time, I believe, at Woodlands, and then also Fortis MMA. Morono, he's better than we give him credit for. The Semmelsberger fight, I was impressed there. I thought Semmelsberger had him, but that wasn't the case. And Morono is live here. I'm not going to be, I don't have a play on this fight. I believe Ponzanibio is coming to the end of his career. But if this fight was 2 or 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, I mean, we saw against Magny what Ponzanibio is capable of. He could come out here and show us a few minutes of greatness. I'll be picking Ponzanibio, but Morono is live here, and it wouldn't surprise me to see Morono end up landing a knockout blow. I don't think this fight is going to play out on the mat. I think this is going to be a striking matchup, and I'll be leaning Ponzanibio, but we could see some fireworks here, and it wouldn't shock me. We saw Liang and Ponzanibio's night. That could happen here as well. But give me Ponzanibio in that matchup. Wow, we've got a number of comments here. Let's see. All right. Okay. Alex is a machine. Yeah, he is. He just keeps coming forward, man. Wow. Plus 700 for TKO line on Alex Morono. That is worth taking another look at. Thank you, Patrick, for sharing that. Now, co-main event of the evening, where we have Paddy Pimblett taking on Jared Gordon. Jared Gordon coming in as a plus 205 underdog. Jared Gordon, solid fighter. Slow as molasses, though. That's something that really needs to be brought up early and often. Taking on Paddy Pimblett, who's coming in as a minus 255 betting favorite. Paddy Pimblett, tons of energy, is quick, is somebody who is going to throw the kitchen sink at his opponents early, feeds off the energy of the crowd. Jared Gordon is going to try to sit back and let Paddy Pimblett make a mistake and then capitalize on that, either through a submission or trying to reverse a position and maintain top position here against Pimblett, who is he has a massive reach advantage. Pimblett, he's also much younger and is a very physical fighter. That I'll give Pimblett. Pimblett has a few things going for him. Also, if you are planning on playing this fight, take a look at the Pimblett inside the distance line. I believe that would be a better route to go because Pimblett could potentially gas himself out here, especially if this ends up hitting the second or third round. So if I could see this fight, if it gets extended, Jared Gordon becoming very live very quickly. So if this gets to the second round or third round, I could see Gordon really turning the tide here. But early, Pimblett and Pimblett inside the distance is something worthy of looking at. I don't think that they put Gordon in this spot to win this fight. Pimblett has so much going for him, and I know he makes mistakes on the mat. His grappling prowess, he almost seems to, he's a spaz out there. He'll just go for it and doesn't necessarily worry about what's coming back at him, both on the feet and on the mat. But that's got him to this spot, and also that's won him a lot of fanfare. I believe there will be an opportunity to fade Paddy Pimblett in the near future, but I'm not willing to do that at this juncture. Paddy Pimblett inside the distance is worthy. I know I've studied Jared Gordon's game for a long time. I know what he's great at. I've been on Jared Gordon in the past. I've also faded Jared Gordon in the past, and I'll be picking Paddy to win. Interesting, Alex. Yes. He is a spaz, but he's your spaz. Okay. Next up, main event of the evening, which is Jan Blachowicz taking on Magomed Ankalaev. Ankalaev coming in as a minus 360 betting favorite, taking on Blachowicz, who is sitting at plus 270. Now, Magomed Ankalaev could have been the champion if he was afforded an opportunity and faced someone like John Jones at light heavyweight. I am comfortable saying that at this stage in his career, Ankalaev is ready for this moment. I believe Ankalaev is the truth here, somebody who I have been on the record as saying is the best light heavyweight fighter on planet Earth, somebody who started out 0-3 as an amateur, somebody who has taken a loss at the highest stage, somebody who was winning 4 minutes and 59 seconds into the final round against Paul Craig and took a loss via triangle. That was a gut-wrenching situation for Ankalaev. He's a fighter who has striking. He has a ground game. He has cardio. We saw against Thiago Santos, there were some moments there where he seemed to be cautious and wasn't engaging, but he also said that he was trying to pace himself in his first 5-round affair. Blachowicz is a solid veteran, 39 years of age, will be 40, I believe, in a couple of months. Somebody who has a ground game, has heavy hands. We talk about the Polish power. We've heard about the Polish power before. Blachowicz is live to get a knockout against anybody. You name the weight class, anybody he could knock out. Does that happen here? I don't think so. And Magomed Ankalaev could have been had back in October at multiple books for at minus 210, minus 225 ish. Now he's sitting at minus 360. So this line has gotten wide. I wouldn't be going out of my way to play Ankalaev at minus 360, but I do believe he wins this fight, and I think that we'll have a new champion here who is a force to be reckoned with. My hope after this matchup is that John Jones comes to his senses, comes back down to light heavyweight, and takes on a Magomed Ankalaev who I believe would beat John Jones rather easily at this stage in his career. Now, John Jones, one of the greatest fighters of all time, is somebody who can beat you at your own game. Now, what is Ankalaev's game? Ankalaev, traditionally, we've seen him excel in the striking department. We saw go to war right off the bat with Ion Cutelaba. Now, come on. Cutelaba, we know he's not championship material, right? But what I've liked about Ankalaev is his range management is very effective. He has great cardio. He has phenomenal technique defensively on the feet. If you're watching out there, and you happen to be an enthusiast of the fight game, watch Magomed Ankalaev's defensive tendencies on the feet. I believe that's one of the tools that he has that separates him in the light heavyweight division. And that should be on display here in this matchup. I'll be picking Magomed Ankalaev. Of course, he's going to have to mind his P's and Q's on the feet. He could take his time. I know folks say that he might be potentially a boring fighter, but you look at other fighters who've had success, sustained success, and how do they do that? They do that by staying aware and staying defensively sound and also fighting to their strengths. So I'll be picking Magomed Ankalaev here, and he could win this fight via decision, or he could win this fight via finish. So give me Magomed Ankalaev. And I want to thank everybody for taking the time to watch this breakdown so early in the morning. I know we kicked off here at 7:15 on the East Coast. And want to thank everybody who's tailed us throughout the year and throughout the past few years. I believe a third-party tracked record is important. I want to thank MMAOddsbreaker Premium for hosting a lot of the content that we've put out there, and MMAOddsbreaker, as well as BetMMA.tips, where the third-party tracked record can be had. Want to thank everyone for this tremendous year. As we close this out, we only have one more event. I believe December 17th is the final event of 2022. Onward and upward, my brothers, one fight at a time. Go get what's yours. Let's do this. Have a great day.